Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Vince Boddicker, Farmers Trading Company. We close mostly higher in grain and livestock futures with the exception of the cattle market today. Vince, I want to start off with soybeans, kind of the darling here, the fifth day up. And, how much of this is South American weather premium versus just some ideas that maybe demand is improving here?
I think demand is proving somewhat. I would still like to see those weekly export sales, 1.5 to 2 million, and we've been there, but last week was just barely over 1 million. I think the export inspections on Monday looked well. We were ahead of schedule, or USDA has us being, as we all know, meal has been the leader in this thing, and we did test that contract high again on Sunday night and unable to get through it. They saw some reversals, but all in all, it's okay. But I'm not sure there's going to be a lot left of the upside here unless we get into the point that we actually have continued dryness in Brazil.
Yeah. So seasonally, we normally get a rally, but what you're saying is that this rally might be peaking here then.
As we noted earlier, yes, we looked for 80 cents to $1.20, and Sunday night's rally took us to 99 cents. So I'm not looking for a lot more than about 20 cents more. Again, if South America stays dry, I'll change my mind. But I think short term, you still need to look at the world as adequate on supplies of beans, even though the U.S. is fairly tight.
So maybe a place to do some short-term sales here. And what about the corn market? Is it just following soybeans? Because we did kind of put in, I guess you could call it a double bottom last week.
Technically, a lot of people are going to call it that. And I think just bouncing off of that was friendly. When we put the high in that we did the Friday before, typically you'll get a 3 or 4 day sell-off, and then you'll get a reversal, which we did. Now we just have to see, can we continue to move higher? I think we need more fresh news. I think we need a bit more export, whether it be inspections and sales, both. But domestically, I think we're doing well with that on the ethanol side, as we saw the last 2 weeks, some fairly decent gains in ethanol production and at the same time decreases in ethanol stocks.
Yeah. Now, we got some Mexico business this morning, a pretty good sale. Are prices getting low enough here now where we are at a value place for a lot of these exporters? Will we see that demand continue to get better?
I think it's at a decent place. Whether we go a lot lower, I think, again, when we had the technical reversal last week, you're going to get a few more people prompted to buy. People know where their defense point is at, is if they want to protect feed needs, if they're going to use the futures. And some of these guys still maybe not able to capture anything as far as from a cash side from local area people. So they're going to, I think, they're doing a little protection in here.
And the wheat market did manage to close a little bit higher. So was it just following corn and soybeans today, or did it get a little help from, this dollar has eased a bit?
The dollar sure isn't hurting us any. And I think last week when we put those lows in, Kansas City meeting its previous contract low at 625.5 on that Dees, and the Minneapolis Dees actually putting new contract lows and then both reversing higher the same day, I think gave some credence to short covering. I don't think we got any big buying coming in the market yet, but at least we got people getting a little more interested.
Yeah, demand still is kind of a questionable thing here, isn't it? I mean, we still have competition from Russia. Our export inspections were not that great this morning either, were they?
No, right at a marketing year low, so not great at all. But yes, we are still not competitive. I think we're getting closer to where we need to be with Russia and Ukraine and some of the other countries. And the dollar coming down is going to help us in that avenue also. But the trade, for the most part, still not looking at the U.S. as a big supplier for the time being.
Cattle, we had a lower day. The charts don't look very good after today, after the gap lower opening. How concerned are you about the technicals versus, the fundamentals?
I think psychologically is where you were at on Monday, and that does reign the market most of the time. A little surprised we got that kind of weakness. Most of the talk was because of further long liquidation on Friday's commitment to traders report, getting them down to only net long 56,000 contracts, which is the lowest we've seen for the year. But all in all, I still like the market. I think demand is still there. We just need to get through some short-term things. And unlike we saw earlier when we had rallies in cattle, this is going to be a choppy affair, I think, until we get it going. And so I think we're going to continue to see some of this volatility.
Yeah. Cash volume was pretty light last week, and the South kind of had to settle for steady. So was that also part of it? Or, the boxes have also dropped.
Boxes, I think, is part of it. We're within
Okay.
$6 of the fall low, and usually you should be rallying in here. But on the other side, cash may have been disappointing to some, but I think as we started out the week last week, everybody was guessing we were going to be lower for the week, and we weren't. So I still think that's a feather in the cap of the bulls, even though some may have a different opinion.
Mhm. And the hogs ended higher today after we had a higher weekly close last week, but we're up into chart resistance. Do you think we have enough momentum to get through it?
I think right now we're going to stop here and pause and, let's put our thoughts together and see where demand really is. As we discussed earlier, even though they've been beating up on the pork cutouts, all of those primals are still above the 5-year average on price, which I think is encouraging from a demand standpoint. We've had good exports. As long as we can keep it up, I think we're okay, but I'm just not sure we have a lot more upside for the next 4 to 5 to 6 weeks just because of numbers coming at us.
All right. Thanks for joining us as always. Vince Boddicker, Farmers Trading Company.